Let's talk mediation. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the conversation series on mediation, created with an aim and vision to promote awareness of mediation in the world around us and to talk about mediation and other alternative dispute resolution solutions from the perspective of a common person. We continue with a short legal disclaimer. The views expressed herein are the voluntary personal perspectives of the speakers and may or may not represent the views of the larger professional community they belong to. This conversation series aims to provide a general overview and awareness on the subject matter involved and may not be construed as a legal or professional advice in any manner whatsoever. This session is being recorded for wide circulation. Let me introduce the team of Mediation Training Academy here today with us who are going to talk about their Mediation Training Academy. We have Mr. Lloyd Comiter. Lloyd is the president of the Mediation Training Academy. Lloyd has been a member of Florida Bar since 1991 and is a Florida Supreme Court certified county mediator, Florida Supreme Court certified circuit court mediator, and Florida Supreme Court certified family mediator. Lloyd has been rated AV by Martindale Hubble, meaning that he has reached the highest of professional excellence and is recognized for the highest levels of skills and integrity. He is an adjunct professor at Florida International University, where he teaches county mediation training programs. Lloyd is a member of the Palm Beach County Bar Association and is a member of South Palm Beach County Bar Association. Lloyd lives in South Florida and is married to Meryl. They have three children. Welcome on board, Lloyd. That's a pleasure to have you here.
Good morning, Stanal, and thank you for having me here today.
We have Roxana Pino. Roxana is an accomplished entrepreneur and expert mediator. She is the founder of and the owner of Beacon Mediation Services, with certifications from Florida Supreme Court in family, circuit, civil, and county mediations. In addition to her legal expertise, Roxana Pino holds an MBA, providing her with a unique blend of business and legal skills that allow her to provide clients with a comprehensive and effective approach to dispute resolution. Roxana brings a fresh perspective and a wealth of insight on how individuals and organizations can navigate their legal disputes with confidence and ease. Welcome on board, Roxana. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Stephanie Prado. Stephanie holds her degree in legal studies from Florida Gulf Coast University and her master's degree in legal studies from Hodges University in Fort Myers. Stephanie has worked as a family law paralegal in Cape Coral, Florida. She held a Florida registered paralegal designation with Florida Bar and an advanced certified paralegal certification from the National Association of Legal Assistants, specializing in parenting and time sharing issues for family law matters. She is a Florida Supreme Court certified family, dependency, and circuit court mediator throughout the state of Florida. Stephanie has lived in South Florida for 35 years and married to her husband Jules, raising one daughter together. Welcome on board, Stephanie. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure.
So that's a wonderful team here, Mr. Lloyd. Stephanie and Roxana both are, as I see, certified mediators and they are a part of your team. So let's talk to you what Mediation Training Academy means actually. What is Mediation Training Academy for you?
All right, so again, thank you for having us today, Sanal. We're looking forward to this discussion. In Florida, to become a certified mediator, one of the first steps you have to do is take a certified training program, an approved program to become certified. And there's a handful of training programs throughout the state of Florida, and there's different areas you can get certified in. For example, county, circuit, family, appellate, and dependency. And Mediation Training Academy is one of the handful of approved programs that trains people to become certified in county, circuit, and family. And so I put on programs typically once a month, sometimes more than once a month. And I alternate between months, county, circuit. And then I'm going to be soon starting to teach family programs later on this year. So So those who want to take the class, take the class, and then they have to do their observations and the background checks and all that stuff. But my program is the first step that they have to do. And the way I run my program is, well, let me back up. All the programs have learning objectives that we have to meet through the Florida Supreme Court. They tell us what we need to teach the students, and it's up to us to teach how we feel best to teach. One area that is, there's only one of the requirements is in the ethics portion, it has to be in 90 minutes. But everything else, we can talk as little or as long as we want, or however we want to do it. There's some videos that we have to show. What I do with my program, because I know people learn in all different ways. Some people learn by listening, some people learn by reading, some people learn by doing. And so what I do with my programs is I cover all the learning objectives, but I do it in different ways. You know, some of the learning objectives I'll do in lecture style. Some of the learning objectives I'll do by PowerPoint presentation. So I'm speaking and people are reading. And some learning objectives I'm doing because it's all on Zoom, I'm doing them in the breakout rooms where I'll break my students up into groups and they can talk amongst themselves. It gives them an opportunity to also network amongst themselves. And then we bring them back as a main group and talk about the learning objectives as a whole. And what I also try and do is, I don't want the same people in the same breakout rooms all the time. I always try and mix it up. That way people can interact with each other. And I try to accommodate people. If they haven't been with so-and-so and they want to make sure they're with someone, I'll make sure I do that. If they don't want to be with someone for whatever reason, maybe the personalities clash, they'll let me know and I'll make sure I don't do that. And so I try and change it up in that way. And so, you know, I find the students enjoy the way I do my programs. And same thing with the role plays. Part of the programs that we have to do is they have to do a role play for either 45 minutes or an hour. And I try and make it so they have different role play coaches for the day and a half that we do role plays, because the different trainers have different perspectives. So those are some of the kind of things that I try and do to make it more enjoyable for the students while I'm doing the process of teaching them. And at the end of the program, I'm going over the application process because I think it's like 9 or 10 pages. And it could be a little daunting at first, but I try and walk it through line by line what they need to do in the application process to make it easier for them once they complete the program.
Okay, that's really a comprehensive program. Now, when I was reading about Stephanie, you are specializing in parenting and time sharing issues for family law matters. So that is a very important aspect for a mediator to know how to handle issues when it comes to family, because those are very emotionally tied up cases. So Stephanie, tell us something about your experience and how you handle these kind of queries or these kind of training to the students also. Thank God I didn't say children. Okay.
So I think on a personal perspective, having gone through the litigation process myself with young children, I think it provided a little bit of a fire in me to further my career in the legal field. And as you had did a wonderful introduction of myself and Roxana and Lloyd, I started as a paralegal with that specialization because that was my niche: parenting, family law, the emotional conversations. When attorneys reach out to me to do mediations, they're like, Stephanie's the emotional one. Let's get her to do this case. So I think as though the knowledge that I have and how I went through things personally in my own, and as well as the training that I received from other various training programs throughout the state of Florida, including Lloyd's, has allowed me to, through my training and mentorship through new mediators coming in as well, to really help them assist or how do I say this? Give them the tools to break down the emotions, work through the issues, and allow the people to see how they work through their own problems without me telling them, do this, do that. So I think with that training programs that Lloyd provided and the tools that he has, that interactiveness with specializations that we have on the side really helped mold the career that I have today.
That's very wonderfully said, because the emotional aspect has to be handled, and it has to be handled by a person who himself or herself understands the emotions. And because the students who are obviously new in the field of mediation would have to learn to manage their own emotions apart from the emotions that are in the on the mediation table, I should say. So that's a very wonderful thing. And
And
Roxanne,
let me
yes,
just add one thing.
yes,
I've seen Stephanie mediate all sorts of different kind of family cases, and she's got such a great gift that she can relate to the parties and the attorneys and difficult attorneys and difficult parties and come to agreements. And I sit back in amazement at some of the cases that she's able to resolve. And it's that saying goes, like you have cases that shouldn't resolve and that they do. You got cases that you didn't think would resolve and that do, or the cases that shouldn't resolve, or vice versa. And she's got such a gift that I'm looking forward to having her help me out with my family programs in the future.
oh,
Oh, thank you.
wow, that's really wonderful, because that coming from your teacher or a facilitator means a lot, Stephanie. I can understand that. And of course, when Lloyd is talking about your skills as far as imbibing those emotionally charged handling mediations to your students, that also makes a lot of difference, because when the facilitator is able to give to the students what those special skills are, and when they can fall back upon you, that makes a lot of difference. So
Right.
before we ask you about that also, Mr. Lloyd, that what are the fallback upon for the students who come to your facility. We would like to talk to Roxana Pino here. Roxana, you are an MBA and holding an MBA degree and coming to mediation. How was the journey and why this transition? That is a very interesting transition. So,
Yeah. So I come back from a real estate background. I managed real estate offices in California prior to moving to Florida. And once I came here, I did want to make a transition. I've always been passionate for the field of law, and I was contemplating of going back to law school or kind of figuring out what my next move was. And I landed an opportunity to attend a mediation course. And I started out with my circuit civil mediation. And Lloyd was my observer assistant trainer in that class. And having conversations through him and other mediators, I really felt like I was in the right place, and I had a lot of opportunities and a lot of doors opening up for me through the field of mediation. So I continued with my county and my family, and I have an entrepreneurial spirit, and it kind of allows me to just create different opportunities, create different aspects that I never, was allowed to through real estate, right? So basically it's very different than what I used to do, but allows me to work as the term negotiator or the middle person, and create this environment where both parties are allowed to meet and see both sides of the transaction and come to an agreement. Where when I was in real estate and doing business, it was really one-sided, right? So this allows me to at least see both sides, if I can. But yeah.
That's a very, very, very good statement that you've made, to see both sides. Because when generally you are into a businessman or an entrepreneur mindset, you are looking at the benefit of from your side of the ball or your
Right.
side of the table. So when mediation happens, you have to at least look at both the sides, and you know that power imbalance also, and you have to see that the both are equally represented at the table. And plus, uh, the as I see that you are also part of the you are a founder of Beacon Mediation Services, so that entrepreneur part has gone there also. So, Mr. Lloyd, I would also want to ask, like Stephanie was saying, that after you give impart the training to students, there is a fallback also, and that praise has been done by Stephanie and Roxana both, that there is all a support system available even after students learn. Let's hear about that, because that makes a lot of difference.
So before I get into that topic, I just want to give a plug for Roxana. Um, uh, in her entrepreneurial spirit, she's such a go-getter, and I love having conversations with her after, half hour here, an hour there, talking about different things that she's interested in doing and pursuing. And I love being her mentor and guiding her. And I think she's going to be very successful, as will Stephanie. So touching on your question, I always tell my students in my classes, that once you're my student, you're always my student. You want to call me up next week, next month, next year, 5 years from now. I want to hear about you. I want to learn what you're doing. I want to see how successful you're doing and what impact you're making on the community. And I always encourage my students to call me up anytime, and I will be there for you. And if I don't have an answer for you, I'm going to try and find that answer for you. And I want to make it so it's welcoming for them, that they shouldn't feel bashful to call me up, or that I'm going to belittle them for calling me up. I'm open. I want to be their mentor, because these are our future leaders. These new mediators are going to be our future leaders 20 years from now, and I want to make them the best that they can be. And so I always encourage them. And some people take me up on it. I have regular conversations with some people. I had one of my former students who was driving down to Key West, I think, or somewhere in Miami from Jacksonville. And he stopped on the way down there to just shoot the breeze with me for 15, 20 minutes. He could want to meet each other in person. So I enjoy those conversations. I enjoy those interactions with my former students, and I like to see what they're doing.
So that's a really humane touch, and that I think the work of a mediator actually is involving a humane, giving a humane touch. So that really spells out for. So yes, that makes a lot of difference. And when we talk about training, so what is specific, like you were telling about those PowerPoint, and there also you mentioned about something called the personality clash, about when students are having some kind sort of a personality clash, you help them with that also.
So so when we do the breakout rooms, a lot of these students I don't know when I first start my programs. I don't know them at all, a lot of them. And so they all come from different backgrounds. Florida's a huge state. I have students who come from outside of Florida. We have all sorts of nationalities here, races here, religions here, political views. So it's a melting pot in Florida. And so when I get students from, let's say, the panhandle of Florida versus Dade County, Florida, different personalities, and sometimes they don't always mesh, they don't always clash. And so it happens in real life. You just have to work with people and learn how to deal with people and accommodate people. And if people feel more comfortable as a student, I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable in any of my classes. So if they're going to ask me, hey, for this next group, don't put me in with so and so. No, that's okay. I'll do that. but I also make a point to try and get everyone in with everyone,
Yes.
because you never know what you're going to learn about someone until you start talking to them. And it's, I think networking is so valuable in this field, because someone may be an expert in scuba diving where someone may be an expert in real estate. You're not going to know that until you get in these breakout rooms. The other thing I try and do also, what I actually do, is in the beginning of the program, the first thing I do is introductions, and people talk, 3-4 minutes about who they are and what they're about and what brought them to the table and what brought them to the mediation world, because you learn about people that way also, just having some free dialogue. So I think it's a great opportunity to network in that regards too. But I try and make my students comfortable in my class. I don't want anyone to feel intimidated by anyone else in the class or being bullied. Not saying that ever happens, but I just want everyone to feel comfortable, make it a welcoming environment.
That's really a wonderful, because most of the people, uh, most of the training academies or anywhere who are doing the course will not bother about it. Generally, not bother. So that's a very human approach, because you are, dealing with human emotions, and you are making sure that people are comfortable, and the course itself, the breakout rooms, the strategies, how you teach mediation, that makes a training academy a different and a stand apart from what the other general idea of an academy is. So, Stephanie, any views on yours? How you handle imparting family mediation training to students, or facilitating that? Anything that you would want to share? Any other experience that you've had?
Well, I think my experience is with a personal touch, because at the end of the day, we're just a person talking to another person. I try to bring down the formalities, although it's a very formal conversation in a litigation court perspective. When it comes to mediation, I try to bring that barrier down and allow them to bring their walls down so they can openly speak with me on interests, what they need, what they want, and how I take that apart. And it's all about your communication style and how you hold yourself. And I think, to piggyback a little bit on what Lloyd was saying with his training, with that conflict and how do you deal with that conflict, part of his training style was, he was very open to making sure everyone was comfortable in their breakout rooms and who they were working with. But sometimes you have that tough personality, but in all your mediations, you're not going to be able to choose who you work with. They reach out to you. So when we did the training with Lloyd, he, in our role plays, and I think Roxana was part of some of those role plays as her assistant trainer, and I was the trainee at that point, Lloyd would be sending me messages during those role plays and say, hey, do this, do that, try to spark some confrontation a little bit, because you want to see how you deal with that, how you break it down. So I feel as though validating someone and hearing what they're saying and repeating what they're saying so they understand that you know what they're saying, and really try to sympathize, have empathy, and allow them to see other perspectives when it comes to that conflict. And Lloyd's training program really breaks that down for the mediation and the mediation participant. The people who were in part of the training could be also a mediation participant as a litigant. And so they can now see on the reverse, not a mediator hat, but they have that litigant hat on. And so they know how to stay calm, cool, and collected, but also open-minded at the same time.
Yes, and that is fun also, because when you are dealing, when you are learning, and it's fun to learn, it doesn't become a boring download kind of a, a scenario. It becomes a real interactive session where you can, as a student or as a mentee, you can, talk to your mentor. So that's, yes, that's really lovely. And that brings us to Roxana. Roxana, you also, are you training into civil or commercial mediations? So any experience that you would want to share?
Absolutely. So I am an assistant trainer for Lloyd's Mediation Training Academy for county and circuit civil. So one of the things that I absolutely love about his approach is, we're living in a post-COVID Zoom world where everything is just, it tends to be a little impersonal, right? Like you're on Zoom, everybody just sees each other's faces. However, through his courses and his style, his reputation, you feel like you know him. You feel like he's a friend. Even though maybe we've met once, right, through a conference that we both attended, but he builds this relationship with you, and he truly cares about your career, where you're headed, your struggles, your ambitions, and that is rare to find, right? When you take a course and you get your certification and you think that's it, right? That's kind of like what you assume out of a course. But his approach and his style allows you to build that relationship post certification and maintain, that type of camaraderie going forward. That's really what I appreciate and I enjoy. So thank you for that, Lloyd. It's good to have in this post-COVID world, I would say.
Thank you.
So Lloyd, that's a lot of praises for you, I understand, because post certification also you maintain the relationship with your students, and they become a part of lifelong relationship with you. So that's a unique selling point of a mediation training academy, because that makes a huge impact on giving confidence to people to be a part of the family, where you will be taken care of if you are facing any problems in your career, in setting up your career, in handling clients, or in tough mediations, because there are times when mediation is a field where anybody could, it's not a foolproof that any method would be a foolproof method. For every mediation is different, because and if you have someone to fall back upon, you to call any time, and take help, so that's a very good and a reassuring kind of an environment. So anything that you want to point out, any experiences that you have had, and you have felt that yes, this work is going on at the best of whatever it could have done.
Well, to piggyback on what Roxana was saying, we've all taken classes, we've all taken courses, we've all gone to lectures, and that post program activity, I don't know if there is a lot of that. And I want to change that. I think it's important that we're there for our students. It's not just, pay me to come to my class, let me go through the learning objectives and send you on your way. That's not who I am, and that's not what I'm about. And I want to make it so that they know that they can always call me. And I get emails from the students. I love it when they send me their certificates that they got approved by as a certified mediator. I want them to post it on their social media, because they should be proud of the work that they've done and going through the steps. And I want them to tag me on social media so I can see what they're doing. So I try and encourage them to be open with me, be willing to call me, and feel free, like they're not bothering me, and they're not bothering me. I get phone calls on Friday nights when I'm out with my wife, and sometimes, depending on what I'm doing, if I'm out with friends, I'll take the call. I won't take the call, but they call me whenever they want, and I want them to know that they can always call me whenever they want, or whenever they need, even if it's on the weekend.
That's really a great help, because generally people themselves feel hesitant in calling their
Right.
mentors.
And they also call me because one of the things in the application process and the background checks is they see what kind of criminal charges may have been filed against you as from 20 years ago when you were in college or something. And so I have people who call me up or reach out to me privately because they have a concern about they got arrested for X, Y, and Z 17 years ago, and how's that going to affect them? And so they speak to me in confidence, knowing that I'm not going to be telling the world of who they are and what they were charged with. And that's the whole confidentiality that we deal with in mediation. So they know that they can reach out to me with these very personal issues that they are having or have had, and that I'm going to guide them as best I can and not belittle them and tell the world and say, oh, you're never going to make it, don't do it. That's not who I am. So I encourage them to call me, and they do. And they do.
That's lovely. That's lovely. So, any closing comments by anybody? This been a good session. What you guys are doing, that's really lovely. What impact it's having on the community is also evident that you are providing a service, a fallback service to them. So that makes a lot of impact. So
One of the impacts that I've seen that I have personally made in the community is a lot of my students volunteer in the courthouse, and I speak to the judges. I speak to the ADR office to see how my students are doing. How are they doing with Judge so and so? And I get the feedback from the judges that they're very happy with my students. And so that makes me proud that I'm making an impact in the community, helping those who are involved in lawsuits, and making the judge's life a little bit easier. And so I enjoy hearing those kind of comments too about my students.
that's really great, because when your work is being noticed by the authorities, when your work is noticed by the society, so that makes a huge impact for a person, and for a person who is imparting education in a field and providing a humane touch to it. That really is good. So as a team, that's really a wonderful job, I should say, because mediation is here to stay. It involves human approach, and if you are giving that human approach, that is the biggest USP any mediation training academy could have. That's really
Thank you.
wonderful. So any closing comments by anybody?
I would just add to what Lloyd was saying, making an impact on the community right here in Florida, but using his approach and using his personality style and just what he believes Mediation Training Academy is and can be. I think it's a great resource for not only Florida, but even at a larger scale. A lot of students can definitely benefit from his courses and his one-to-one interaction style.
Yes.
I think with the right trainer, the career of mediation, being a mediator and helping people is very rewarding. And in turn, it affects your personal life and how you treat others on a daily basis outside of your career. So when you have tough mediations and you have all these skills that you've learned through this training process, and once you go through a tough mediation, and I come out and I look at my husband, I'm like, I am very thankful for you. It allows me to just look at my life and understand that with this career, I'm helping others, and in turn, I'm showing my children, a great example of, a passionate job that you love doing, and it's self-serving, and you're serving others. So I think it starts with the schooling, the training, and having that instructor instilling those skills and knowledge in you to move forward.
Wonderfully said, because how a mediation is a 40 hours basic course. How much does it make a difference to a person's life when it's been taught in a humane way, when there is support after the teaching, and there is on ground role plays happening, uh, you know, one-to-one interaction happening, because it is not an easy job as it seems to be, because you are handling emotions of people at the time when they are in their worst of emotional IQ, I should say, because at that time when they are tormented or they are going through a stress period, because there are doctors who are handling people who are in pain, and you are handling people who are in mental agony and pain. So, I mean, it makes a lot of impacting what you learn from your mentor, and how you are going to give that to other people. Because yes, it's a simple 40 hours course. Anybody can learn, but to learn it from somebody who gives it in the humane way, and how you are giving it to others, will make a huge impact, because what we learn is what we imbibe and what we give to others in our society. So that makes a huge impact. So thank you so much. I'm sure others are going to take this example. They are going to learn from this, and it's not going to happen a very professional, a very money-minded course that you take money and give a certificate. It's not like that, and it should not be like that. So that makes a unique any training academy unique is what they offer to their students or their people whom they are facilitating. That's
Mhm.
that's such a
Well,
lovely.
thank you for having us today, Sanal.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Yes, thank you. Yeah,
Welcome.
thanks.